Hello and welcome to this edition of FYI Weekly, your official source for City of Greensboro news and information. The Code Compliance Division is reinstating the assessment and accrual of civil penalties and reinspection fees effective immediately. This is associated with active residential and non-residential code cases. These charges had been suspended at the beginning of April as a way to prevent additional hardships caused by COVID-19. City code compliance inspectors have continued to conduct required inspections to make sure conditions of structures are safe while maintaining 6 feet of social distancing. Property owners and contractors also have continued to make repairs and perform maintenance on structures since the state declared these as essential functions. For more information about the penalties and fees, the Neighborhood Development Department can be reached at 336-373-2111. The U.S. Census will end field data collection by September 30th, which is a month sooner than originally planned. Self-response options will also close on that date to allow data processing to begin. Under this plan, the Census Bureau intends to meet a similar level of household responses as collected in prior censuses, including outreach to hard-to-count communities. To date, 93 million households, which accounts for nearly 63% of all households in the nation, have responded to the 2020 census. Building on its successful and innovative internet response option, the Census Bureau staff, including temporary workers who will be deployed in communities across the country in upcoming weeks, will work diligently to achieve an accurate count. The Census Bureau relies on the support of hundreds of thousands of community-based business, state, local, and tribal partners contributing to these efforts across our nation. The 2020 census belongs to us all. If you know someone who has not yet responded, please encourage them to complete the census today, online, over the phone, or by mail. Be sure to check out the interactive map on the city's website to track neighborhood response to the U.S. Census. The interactive map is updated daily with response rates from the Federal Census Bureau. Residents whose jobs have been sidelined by the coronavirus will be able to visit the NC Works Career Centers. The facilities in Greensboro and High Point have reopened to the public. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Wednesdays, and 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Fridays. Walk-in customers can receive staff assistance and access to the Computer Resource Center. Customers are required to wear a face cover in order to enter the buildings and access the employment services. COVID-19 precautions are in place, such as allowing a reduced number of people in each center, plus adding plexiglass to the workstations. The Greensboro NC Works Career Center is located at 2301 West Meadowview Road. The High Point Center is located at 607 Idle Street. In an effort to help each of us improve our quality of life, the city developed a partnership with Cone Health to share a series of brief and informative videos designed to inspire you to make better choices when it comes to healthy living. Let's take a moment to check out today's News for Your Health.
Making healthy choices. Let's talk about what you should look for. The first thing you should look at in a nutrition food label is the serving size, because that's going to differ from the portion size. The nutrition serving size is based off of 1 serving of that food and beverage. You may eat more than 1 serving, and you'll have to account for that on the facts label as far as total calories, fat, all of those things. So the percent daily value, or capital D, capital V on the foods label, is going to be a guide for you as far as how much of one nutrient you should get per day. And that's based off a percentage out of 2,000 calories a day, which you may need more or less of, depending on your stature, activity level, things like that. As an example, if a food label has 5% daily value, that's going to be 5% of your needs of that nutrient per day. So when you're looking at the total fat in a product, you'd also want to go underneath that and look at the breakdown of the fat. So trans fat, saturated fat, and unsaturated fat. For saturated fat or fats that are solid at room temperature, you'd really want to look to limit those, or again, have no more than 5% of your daily value for those foods. For trans fats, I'd really recommend avoiding foods that have trans fats. They're man-made, they're not natural, and really not something that you'd want to consume on a regular basis, whereas unsaturated fats are your healthy fats, and those are things that are helpful for your joints, for your brain health, and those are liquid at room temperature. So when you're looking for sugars on the nutrition fact label, you really want to focus in on those added sugars, because those added sugars are what you'd really want to limit or avoid. That doesn't provide any nutritional value in your diet, but does add up as far as your daily caloric allotment pretty quickly. You should definitely be looking at vitamins, minerals, and fiber that's listed on the facts label. Getting a variety of those types of nutrients is all really important for daily functioning, and also preventing illnesses, for anemia, osteoporosis, all those things you hear about that you get later in life. For daily fiber requirements, for adult males it should be somewhere around 37 grams per day, and adult females somewhere around 25 grams per day. And you can find those in any fruits, vegetables, or whole grains. And eating a variety of those foods, eating foods with color, making your plate colorful is all a really great way to make sure you're getting that variety. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this information has been helpful. If you're interested in more information, go to conehealth.com/healthyeating. I'm Lisa Balestrino.
Small businesses that want to bid on City of Greensboro projects that are upcoming will have an opportunity. We'll have that story and more news coming up after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. If you own a company or small business and want to bid on City of Greensboro projects, here is an opportunity. Gain access to a list of all upcoming projects planned from now until June 30th, 2021. This is the second year staff is compiling the project list and making it available for public viewing. Be sure to register to attend Building Relationships 2020 Overview of Forecasted City Projects. This workshop will take place from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, August 27th. This virtual workshop will be available on Zoom. Online registration is required by August 26th. Visit the city's website to access the registration link. During this free event, Spanish interpreters will be available as needed. For more information, call the Office of Equity and Inclusion at 336-373-7980. In support of Greensboro Transit Agency's commitment to sustainable public transportation, the organization is the recipient of a grant in the amount of $502,000. This will be used for GTA's battery electric bus program. This grant will go toward the purchase of a 17th Proterra battery electric rechargeable bus, replacing an aging diesel bus. The funds also support construction of a new electric bus quick charger at the J. Douglas Gallion Depot. Administered by the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, the funds come from the 2016 Volkswagen settlement with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Nearly $15 billion has been made available nationwide for vehicle buybacks, infrastructure improvements, and environmental mitigation programs. Other North Carolina recipients of settlement funds include Charlotte, Raleigh, Wilmington, and Salisbury, along with numerous school districts. For more information about North Carolina's settlement program and project award, please visit the Department of Environmental Quality website. Applications for artist support grants are now available on the Arts Greensboro website using a new portal system. Grants will range in awards from $500 to $2,000, funded by North Carolina Arts Council. The Artist Support Grant Program provides professional and artistic development grants to eligible artists. The North Carolina Arts Council has designated Arts Greensboro and the Arts Council of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County as the lead art councils for the 5-county region, including Davidson, Davie, Forsyth, Guilford, and Randolph County. The lead arts councils take on the administrative duties of administering the grant and holding the review panel to determine awardees. The partnering agencies work together to provide marketing and outreach and host applicant workshops and provide assistance to applicants. Artists in all disciplines are eligible to apply for grants to support their professional and artistic development. The deadline to submit applications is Sunday, October 4th. For more information, please call Darlene McClinton at 336-279-7086. Hurricane season is a third of the way over, and North Carolina was in the direct path of the most recent storm. Coming up after the break, we'll get a refresher course on hurricane preparation and how emergency managers are factoring COVID-19 into their plans. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. There are 4 more months to go before we close the books on another hurricane season. The most recent activity in the Atlantic made landfall along our coast. Joining me now to remind us about the importance of hurricane preparation is Stephen Gross. He is the Emergency Management Coordinator with Guilford County Emergency Management. Hello, Stephen. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Carla. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me. With hurricane season upon us, we've had June and July, now we're in August. What does your office want residents to know before the next storm?
So as always, we like for residents to be prepared for an array of hazards, including hurricanes. Hurricane season goes from June to November, which encompasses a large part of our year. But for us, that means we'd like for folks to be prepared for to take an all hazards approach. So a lot of the preparations that you can take for a hurricane, such as having some food that is non-perishable, having those items on hand for which your family really depends, such as medication, anything like that, depending upon the needs of your family, is really important. And we like for folks, especially during this time, it's become more evident to have a lot more of those items on hand if possible, even more than just 2 to 3 days. You know, we like to aim for 4 to 5 days of being able to be self-sustaining in taking care of yourself during a storm or something like that.
Okay, that's interesting that you say 4 to 5 days, because back in the day they used to say 72 hours should get you through.
And you'll still find a lot of that. A lot of people say the first 72 is on you, but I've found even during since we were in a pandemic, I've found that when you limit your trips to the grocery store, if at all possible, I like to, have a little bit more on hand if possible, as long as it doesn't break the bank, to kind of take care of some of those things as well, kind of twofer, if you will.
Yes, that's really good advice. And speaking of the coronavirus situation, is there a different approach to opening the public shelters so that you can adhere to the social distancing rule?
Sure. So we've worked with our sheltering partners and the state to use some best practice guidelines to make sure that we have provisions available so that we can safely take care of folks if the need arises, and make sure that we do that in a manner that goes along with all of those guidelines. And what that will mean is congregate sheltering that we've seen traditionally in the past, that may not be our first option for sheltering during an event here in Guilford County. We may look to other ways to make sure that folks get safe places to stay and places to be if they have power-dependent or oxygen-dependent medical needs. Not saying that we wouldn't do congregate sheltering where we put everyone together, but it would look more like a person would likely be screened as they come in, like many places are doing anyway, before you can come inside, and be prepared to be in a larger space than we normally would be, because we're trying to give each family, each individual, more space for that social distancing. So those are just a few of the things that you could see a little different.
Okay, and animals are always the question that will come up from those who have pets. Is there still going to be provisions for anyone who has a pet?
Sure, and what we look to do there is make sure that our animal services partners are in the loop with our sheltering folks, and so they are one of our stakeholders there. And it may mean that you need to pay attention to some messaging to see where the pet-friendly shelter is available, but that is something that we would strive to do, because we all know that you don't want to leave that pet at home alone. That creates a different set of circumstances as well. So.
Absolutely. Now, does your office provide a checklist? You mentioned going to the grocery store and maybe planning ahead enough and budgeting enough to get some extra items, but just to make sure that we have everything that we should have to shelter in place, is there a cheat sheet you could direct us to?
So we've tried to make it really simple and easy. You can go to readyguilford.com, and that is our one-stop shop for how to make a disaster kit, what you should have at home for preparedness, how to create a disaster plan for your family. And there's some checklists in there that you can take a look at, and we hope to be useful for folks during this time and moving forward. So yes, we do have that resource available.
Wonderful. And is that the same website to stay informed? What's the best way for residents to know what's happening before, during, and after an event?
So one of the best ways that we like for folks to stay informed is we have the Genie system. So it's the Guilford Emergency Alert Notification and Information System. It's easier to say Genie, obviously, but we have that as a platform where Guilford County residents can sign up for no charge, and they can be informed of things like severe weather, other community engagement things that law enforcement or other public safety may want them to know about. And it's great because it's customizable. You get to choose what and how you're alerted to those things. So, but we also recommend having more than one way to stay informed. So if you have, if you've signed up for Genie, we would also recommend having a weather radio in your home. I know it feels like we're stepping back to the 80s with that, but it's great technology that still works really well. I have one in my office right now. So we suggest having two ways to stay informed.
Okay, well, I am on the Genie list, so I get a text message, I get a phone call, I get an email. It works.
It is very efficient.
Yes, you tell it where do you want to be alerted. I'm kind of everywhere, so I need it to tell me wherever I could be. Right. Well, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you taking time to stop by and give us this very important plan of how to be prepared for inclement weather. And as you said, all hazards. We never know what could come up. Do come back and give us tips on other areas of emergency management.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Carla.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Stay tuned for some useful information about Greensboro as we tell you something about the city. That's coming up after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. One way to stay informed about decisions that impact our city is by attending or tuning in to City Council meetings at 5:30 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of the month. The fourth Tuesday is reserved for a meeting as needed. Due to COVID-19, the City Council is meeting virtually. The Greensboro City Council meetings are broadcast right here on GTN. The meetings are also streamed live on the city's website and on Roku. City Council meetings usually take place on level 2 of the Melvin Municipal Office Building, located at 300 West Washington Street. To review the council meeting schedule and agendas, please visit the city's website. Here's an opportunity to learn a little something about the city. The North Carolina League of Municipalities is asking residents to urge Congress to support allocating direct financial assistance to cities and towns. The U.S. Senate released its proposal for a new round of additional COVID-19 relief, but the package does not include additional funds for state and local governments. Instead, the plan leaves cities and towns to fend for themselves when it comes to budget shortfalls caused by the pandemic. Residents are encouraged to contact their congressional representatives to remind them how sales tax and utility revenue streams have been harmed by the economic downturn and must be addressed in order for the economy to recover. The U.S. House approved a relief package with funds for municipalities. Therefore, it's important to encourage those congressional supporters to continue to stand strong with municipalities as negotiations begin. It's also necessary to let U.S. senators know flexibility for previously approved CARES Act dollars is not enough, being that North Carolina cities continue to be impacted by the pandemic and economic uncertainty remains. Coming up after the break, we'll showcase our department spotlight, but first we have an important message regarding COVID-19.
Remember the 3 W's. Wear a cloth face mask covering, wait 6 feet from others, and wash your hands often. By working together, we can adjust to this new normal and continue to save lives.
Welcome back. The City of Greensboro has more than 20 departments and several divisions committed to serving you, our residents and visitors. Let's go behind the scenes in our department spotlight. The Greensboro Public Library's Board of Trustees has approved a change in policy to eliminate fines for overdue books and materials. The new policy includes the forgiveness of outstanding fines. The elimination of fines is not unique to Greensboro, as library systems across the country are adopting this policy. Library Director Bridget Blanton says since Greensboro Public Library serves as a conduit to destiny in the community, I am very excited to see this change in policy. Overdue fines are widely recognized as a form of social inequity, and that doesn't make sense for an institution with a mission to provide free and equal access to information. The change in policy also means Greensboro Public Library visitors will no longer be excluded from using computers due to outstanding fines. However, customers are still responsible for lost or damaged materials. This policy change falls in line with initiatives taken by Greensboro City Council and the City Manager's Office to address historical inequities. Straight ahead on the other side of the break is this week's Way to Go GSO shout-out. Stay with us. As we draw to a close, we always want to end on a positive note with our Way to Go GSO shout-out. This week's shout-out goes to the Greensboro City Council. In May, the City Council approved the request to issue special permits to allow restaurants to temporarily expand seating in the right-of-way. This would allow restaurants and retail businesses to operate in the public right-of-way while providing ample space for pedestrians to maintain social distancing. Merchants along South Elm Street from Market Street to Lewis Street were able to take advantage of this the first weekend of August. Please remember, as more places continue to open, wear your face covering, wait 6 feet apart, and wash your hands often. That concludes this edition of FYI Weekly, but you can easily stay connected to the latest city news by linking to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Alexa users can subscribe to our 5-minute flash briefings. Be sure to download our weekly podcast, Talk City Greensboro, and now GTN is streaming on Roku. For all of us here at the City of Greensboro, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.